Can I jump in? Because actually Rennie Sawade joined us, and he is with WashTech, representing many IT workers. So I don't know if Rennie, you'd like to make comment on that.
Yeah, that's one of our big concerns, is just the whole high-tech job loss. Now, as far as IT workers go, I mean, we've been losing jobs for over a decade now. And one thing that we're really concerned with is the FTA is just exacerbating the situation. Some of the things we deal with are not only trade agreements, but also this lax commerce that's happening over the internet, because the goods aren't physical. They can just be sent down the wire, from country to country. And so that's an additional issue we're dealing with. And actually, I don't think the trade agreements really address that. So a lot of that's another big piece that's being ignored.
I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the jobs. Similarly, I think that was brought up in the situation in Korea, going from a living wage job to contract positions, and that trend in the IT industry.
Yes, that's a huge trend. In fact, I'm a casualty of that myself. Everything's going to independent contractor type jobs. You're no longer working directly for a company as a full-time employee. Just like in my case, there's I'm working for a big international corporation that does work for oil companies. Okay, so the oil companies, they subcontract out to this other company, and they subcontract out to this other company that subcontracts out to me. So there's like, instead of the company just directly hiring employees, I'm several layers down the chain on the software I develop, and plus I don't get any benefits of any kind. All I do is get a direct compensation, like a 1099 type of thing, as opposed to W-2. So there's no such thing as vacation or holiday pay or sick pay. You either work and get compensation for the hours that you work, or you don't work and you get nothing. And the unfortunate thing about this as well is, one thing that I personally ran into is that when these global companies say, oh, we need to make our balance sheets look better, we need to do a 40% across-the-board cut on our projects. What that does is that trickles all the way down the chain, and that ended up in me not working for 3 months. Okay, and of course, because of the employment situation I was in, these contracting deals, you don't get any benefits like unemployment insurance. You're totally cut out of the picture. So you end up, having to use other means to get by. But so it makes it pretty rough for high-tech workers.
There's a lot of other people.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Alan.
No, that's okay. My comment's back. Go ahead.
I just have a question. I mean, it seems to me like that we've now had, we've had over 20 years of NAFTA, is that right? 16 years.
1994.
And there were the promises of NAFTA, which was that there would be, it would create this huge market in Mexico, because all these jobs would be created in Mexico, which would allow the U.S. to export to Mexico. And so the job loss that was going to happen in the U.S. would somehow be made up for by the fact that we were building a middle class in Mexico that was going to ultimately be buying goods from the U.S. Has anyone done a study of those claims to find out if they're, I mean, it seems to me that what we've seen is in both countries, we've seen a growing income gap, and we've seen farmers pushed off their land in Mexico, which has led to huge immigration into this country. And the maquiladoras are today, they've gone to other countries where they can get cheap. Has there been a study that somehow can say this is what they promised and this is what actually happened? So why would we think it would be anything different in the Korea-US free trade agreement?
Well, there was a really comprehensive study done at the 10-year mark of NAFTA in 2004 by the Carnegie Foundation, which found that overall poverty had increased in Mexico as a direct result of NAFTA, income inequality had increased, and undocumented immigration from Mexico to the United States had increased sixfold over the 10 years of the agreement. So I think you're absolutely right. And the same results have been demonstrated through the Central America Free Trade Agreement, which was implemented in 2003 in its first 8 years. So it's, as the Fair Citizens Trade Campaign and the Korean workers are pointing out, the Korea-U.S. trade agreement does not alter the fundamental workings of trade relations that came from NAFTA, and so we should expect similar results.